Imagine that you're at a local restaurant when a nearby patron throws salt over their left shoulder. This may seem silly to you, but I'm sure that person has their reasons. They may believe in something that's called a superstition. Today I'm going to tell you what a superstition is. I'm going to tell you some common superstitions, and then I'm going to tell you the origin of some of these superstitions. So let's begin by talking about what a superstition is. Merriam-Webster's dictionary states that a superstition is a belief or practice resulting from ignorance, fear of the unknown, trust in magic or chance, or a false conception of causation. Now, what this means is that a superstition is a belief that a specific event or act will cause a totally unrelated reaction. For example, NHL player, hockey player, might not shave their beard, their facial hair, during the playoffs for the Stanley Cup, for fear that this might cause their team to lose. That's just one common example of a superstition. So now that we've established what a superstition is, I'm going to tell you a couple common superstitions. So superstitions are used rather commonly, and they differ and they spread vastly throughout the world with changes through religion or by the local areas. So I'm going to tell you 3 common superstitions. First would be throwing the salt over the shoulder. It's thought that throwing salt over the left shoulder would ward off evil spirits or the devil. This is just a common thing that people do. Sometimes it varies. Sometimes people don't necessarily throw it over the left shoulder. Maybe it's just a shoulder. Or sometimes people do it when they've spilled the salt, and that's when they would throw it over their shoulder. Secondly, the number 13 and Friday the 13th. These are thought to be an unlucky number and an unlucky day. Just that bad things happen with those specific things involved. And then finally, knocking on wood. Some people believe that knocking on wood would would prevent them from being jinxed after saying something, or prevent an event from happening. So an example of this would be if someone said, "Oh, well, now I'm probably going to miss the bus." They might knock on a nearby bench, a wooden bench, hoping that that would help that to not happen. So now that we've established some common superstitions, I'm going to tell you the origin of these superstitions. So let's begin with salt again. According to the origin of 7 common superstitions on neoterama.com, it states that salt has always been thought as a valuable substance. So spilling the salt would definitely be unlucky, as this was worth so much at one time. Also, it's thought that it's said in Christianity that Judas, who was at the Last Supper, spilled the salt during that meal, and Judas is known in Christianity as a bad person. So this could be somewhere where that stems from. And lastly, it's been thought for many centuries that the devil is always over your left shoulder. So throwing the salt over your left shoulder would keep the devil at bay. Next, I'll tell you let's go over the origin of Friday the 13th and the number 13 superstition. As stated in the origin of 7 common superstitions, again, that's from neoterama.com, it stated that Judas, in Christianity, that Judas was at the Last Supper, and he was the 13th person to sit down at the Last Supper. So again, 13 being the unlucky number. And then in Viking history, it is thought that at a baby's first birthday party, if there are uninvited guests, in attendance, that these guests would be that the 13th guest to arrive, if there were 13 guests at the party, the 13th guest to arrive would be causing a curse on the baby. Also, for Friday the 13th, there's really no specific reason or event that's caused Friday the 13th to be an unlucky one. This is quite a new superstition within the past couple hundred years, but the only correlation between the two would be that 13 is considered an unlucky number in several cultures, and Friday has been thought to be an unlucky day, the most unlucky day throughout the week. And then for knocking on wood, in the article Knock on Wood, Superstitions and Their Origins on DivineCaroline.com, it said that the group known as Droids, they worshipped trees. This group of people, they inhabited what is now Great Britain. They believed that spirits lived in the trees and in the wood, and so it was common practice for them to knock on wood to wake up the spirits, perk up the spirits to work in their favor. So, since we've gone over 3 common superstition origins, let's go over what we've covered. Superstitions may seem silly to some. They may seem silly to some due to the cause not really making any sense, but some people believe no matter what. Today we covered what a superstition is, where superstition, or some common superstitions, and where these superstitions originated. So you may now end up throwing salt over your left shoulder to keep that devil at bay, or maybe you will stop practicing a superstition now knowing where it came from. Thank you.